Brooklyn, 1944. A scholar, a wrestler, a young man with a future. But when the draft came, he traded books for battle. In the jungles of Vietnam, they called him Magnet Ass, the pilot who survived the impossible. Shot down wounded, crawling from the flames, pistol in hand, ready to make his last stand. But fate wasn't finished with him yet. This is the untold story of James Brian Schaffer, scholar, soldier, survivor, and the man who found purpose after war.
James Brian Schaffer's story began far from the jungles of Vietnam, in the urban sprawl of Brooklyn, NY, where he was born on May 8, 1944. He was a natural athlete, an undefeated all-county wrestler, who grappled with opponents on the mat before he ever grappled with the realities of war. After high school, his intellect took precedence, and he earned a BA in economics and English literature in 1966. He was a scholar, a man who saw the world through the lens of literature and economic theory, but the world he knew was about to change. A draft notice arrived in late 1966, and by February 1967, he was an active duty soldier. The scholar became a warrior, trading textbooks for military manuals. He completed helicopter training in April 1969 and was assigned to the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment the following month. The skies above Vietnam became his new battleground. It wasn't long before Jim earned a reputation and a nickname. He had a preternatural ability to attract enemy fire, and after being shot down several times, his comrades called him Magnet Ass. The name was a dark joke, a testament to his uncanny ability to survive the impossible. But on January 17, 1970, his luck almost ran out. His helicopter took a direct hit. He was wounded, but managed to crawl from the burning wreckage, his service pistol in hand. Surrounded and alone, he was ready to fight to the death. Just as he was preparing for his final stand, the ARPS, Aero Rifle Platoon, the God-sent Aero Rifle Platoon, came to his rescue. They landed in a hail of gunfire, pulling him from the brink of certain death. After recovering from his wounds and still in a walking cast, Jim returned to duty in May 1970, a testament to his unbreakable spirit. He was finally honorably discharged in September 1973, leaving the service with a Purple Heart for the wounds he sustained. This marked the end of his time as a soldier, but the beginning of a new battle, finding his way home. The journey home for James Brian Schaffer was far from a victory lap. The war had followed him, not in the form of enemy soldiers, but in the echoes of his nightmares and the jumpiness of his nerves. The silence of Brooklyn, a place he once knew so well, now felt alien and deafening. The rhythmic clamor of the city was a jarring counterpoint to the jungle's constant hum, and the sight of an approaching car could trigger a visceral memory of a gunship patrol. His Purple Heart, a symbol of his sacrifice, hung on a wall in his room, a constant reminder of the day he almost didn't make it. He was a survivor, but survival came with a heavy cost. The man who had been a magnet for trouble in Vietnam now felt adrift, unable to connect with a world that seemed to have moved on without him. He tried to lose himself in the rhythms of civilian life, but the ghost of the war was always with him. One afternoon, sitting in a park he used to play in as a boy, a small scene played out that would change the course of his life. A young boy was struggling to get his kite to fly. The wind was a fickle thing, and the kite, a bright red beacon, kept plummeting to the ground. Jim watched, a faint sense of recognition on his face. He saw himself in the boy's struggle, the frustration of trying to control something so unpredictable. Jim walked over and offered a simple tip. He showed the boy how a slight shift of the wrist and a gentle tug on the string could change everything. The next gust of wind caught the kite and it soared, a fiery symbol of triumph against the fading sky. The boy's face, radiant with pure, uncomplicated joy, was a sight that pierced through Jim's emotional fog. In that moment, Jim realized that the path to peace wasn't about forgetting the past, but about building a new future on top of it. He couldn't erase the man he had been in Vietnam, but he could use the lessons he learned to become a better man. He began to volunteer, becoming a coach for a local youth wrestling team. The skills he'd honed as a young man now had a new purpose, guiding a new generation of athletes. He also started teaching. With his degrees in English and economics, he began tutoring immigrants, helping them learn the language and find their way in a new country. He saw their struggle to adapt and understood it on a personal level. The war would always be a part of his story, but it was no longer the end of his story. James Brian Schaffer, the man who was both a scholar and a warrior, A hero and a survivor had found his new mission. He was no longer just the man who had dodged bullets and survived crashes. He was a coach, a teacher, a mentor, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to find purpose and peace, even after the darkest of storms. Subscribe for more.